All right, let's start. Let's start. It's a bit late. Yeah, starting is a bit late, but hey, let's go ahead and get some programming done. I figured hey, we can program for at least 2 hours. I was hoping for a bit more time programming, but oh, this is how time flows. Either way, what we need to do now is work on our code. So if you remember, one of the things that we ended up leaving, which was kind of causing a problem, was the fact that our sequencer here, yeah, apparently we programmed in the ability to modify the different layers, pretty much warp the different layers. But when we went to do the animations, we kind of didn't program in how we're going to animate the warping, which ends up having to be part of the actual sequence. One of the original ideas was that we were simply just zip them together. So we'd zip the warp function with the file or with our sequence. And yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Let's see, if we go over here, you can see the sequencer. Down here, here's loading the sequences, loading it in. Let's see here, there's a frame comparison. It should be around, yeah, it's around here. See, we need to add in the warping right here. So the question is how are we going to do that? And what are we going to do about it? Part of me feel I still like the idea of just calling get frame and then letting it go. But we need to figure out a way to house the information. One of the ways I thought about doing it was to just create a whole new dictionary. I think we were actually even working on that along those lines as well. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, here we go. A dictionary and a dictionary. Oh boy, that is some. That is a special kind of data structure if you've ever seen one before. Yeah, I think one of the big problems is that the fact that the structure of it's all based down to the data structure. So if we go back and look at our, let's see here, where are you? It's our enums right here. So we have a couple different enums. If we go over to the animation components, you can see there's the idle, talk, intro, outro. And then if you go to the emotions, we have the different ones, which would be normal, normal, happy, sad, angry. So these two alone are two of the dictionaries together, which is one reason why we added in a third one, which would have separated out the sequence and then the warping. I think. Yeah, this is where it gets a bit confusing. Because what we originally wanted to do was what we originally wanted to do was that we wanted to just have a basic sequence. We would just go through the animations with no real trouble. But because of that, because of the fact that warping is dissociated, I really think I don't want to just keep piling up on the dictionaries. I really don't. One way to do it is that we can simply. Oh, actually, maybe we can put this within. Well, again. Part of me feels like rather than just warping it immediately, we should probably cache in the warping. Because if, for instance, here you can see within the sequence, what we do is we load up our directory. It will then go through, it will pull in all of the images, it will compile them, set the image parameters, and then afterwards, this is where the zipping I'm talking about comes in. As you can see here, image parameters, this is what I'm trying to get rid of. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to get rid of here. Part of me feels like it would be pretty easy, or part of me feels like part of me feels like that should be we should probably focus this, rewrite this. I think what we should probably, let me go ahead and load up. We need to do some brainstorming. That's what we need to do. Let me load up GIMP. Let me load up GIMP and start just drawing. Oh, hey, we can draw while we wait. Let's see here. Let's see here. We'll add in a. There we go. Oh, yeah. All right. Anyway. There we go. Okay. Nice. All right. Nice. Nice. Hey, Pantherax. How's it going? GIMP it's called the Graphical Image Manipulation Program. I think that's what the acronym stands for. GNU, there you go. GNU, Image Manipulation Program. But yeah, it's pretty much it's a raster graphics editor. It's not as good as, there's some other ones that are better. For instance, if you wanted to do drawing, I would recommend Krita. Yeah, I would recommend a program called Krita. This one is more for artists. So this is a artist's graphical application. But for me, I like to use, since I'm mostly doing raster stuff, this is GIMP. And yeah, you can see it's very much, it's very much like Photoshop. Think of it as a more watered down Photoshop. Photoshop has added in so many new stuff nowadays that you can do so much with it. But the one reason why I like GIMP is the fact that it's not trying to siphon away my soul every month. There is no weekly or monthly fee to use, which I really like. Anyway. Let's back. Let's see here. Back. All right then. So let's see here. What do we have? We have our animation emotions. So we'll call it emote. Then what this ends up blocking into is the animation components. And this is pretty much the happy, as I said, this is the happy, the sad, the angry. And then I mentioned this is the intro, this is idle, talk. And then from here, these are these frames. So this is the animation emote, animation components. These are made up of individual frames that are sequenced or put in a sequence, like so. We'll put 0, 1, 0, 1, 2. That's the talking animation. That's the way the frames are set up in the talking animation. Now what we want to do is, for these are made up of, we call them framers, but these are just the animation frames. So these are a series of images that are overlaid on top of each other to make the frame. Now what we want to do is figure out because I'm trying to be a bit lazy here. I want to actually warp these. So instead of just playing these out, I want to be able to, I want to change this to where we have 0, and then we'll warp 1 like so, 1, then 0, and then warp 1 again like this. And then lastly, we would warp this one the other way, like this too. By doing it this way, I can simulate bobbing of talking. You know, my character can bounce and talk, and it will look more natural as opposed to just the lip flaps moving. You can actually see it within the animation of my character right now. You can see he bounces every time he talks. So rather than, one simple way is to just force the animator to do this, but I want to use the basic warping functions that we have. I've programmed it in to do it for each individual frame, and we actually can do it on the final one. But the question is where to store that. That's where we were having the biggest problems. I was thinking of storing it here in the animation components because of the fact that we can simply call the function getFrame, which will automatically pool whatever we want, and it will go through the sequence. However, the biggest problem here is that this happens to be a cycle. It's a Python cycle. Oh yeah, it's a Python cycle, which means that once it reaches, the end here, it loops back over. And I don't know if I can have a zip function be like this. I don't know if I would even want it to be like this. Maybe we could set it to store. Oh, I know. Why not do it that way? Why not cache different warpings? For instance, we have getFrame here. So let me actually minimize this and I can show you. All right, hop up over here. It's over here in the animator. Right here, we have getFrame. We have getFrame, we have the emotes, we have our components, and then I have reset loop, which will be to reset the loop, because sometimes you might want the animation to restart itself. I could make my character, flick his tail like 9 times if I reset the loop. Like that, kind of. So, if we wanted to, I could actually maybe I could, that's what we should do. Preset warp. And let's see here, we'll set preset warp. This is going to be an integer. Actually, yeah, we'll set it to be an integer. And we'll set this to none. I'm going to force people to actually... I'm actually going to force people to have to actually add that in. There we go. And then lastly, what we'll do is we'll put it right here. Preset warp is equal to preset warp. There we go. Okay. There we go. So the idea here then is that when we call getFrame, we can simply grab a cached transformation. I think that would be much better because that way, one, we can just add in them. Another program could just add them in as you're going, which is kind of what I'm trying to do, is have two separate programs working at the same time. One which is animating, and then another one which is actually building the frames, the animations, and all of the jank, I guess you could say. And then the other one, so by doing this, we can simply store our warping in the frame. So that means we have to go to Framer. What we'll do is we'll put it up. We'll put it here in the Framer. Let's see here. We have frame name, mode, image size, depth, background color, components, composite, and then the image layers. So what we should do here is we're going to add in another one, and this is going to be called presets. Warp presets. There we go. This is a list. And this is going to be of ND arrays. And given the fact that we want this to be for each individual frame, we're going to simply... There we go. We're going to simply... We'll put this after components. Warp presets, and they'll equal... There we go. Okay. There we go. So now what we can do is we can simply store our presets. I think the last thing then to do is we should call what it is. Let's see here. Well, whenever we call composite, we will call compile and then run it. When we run compile, it will go through all of the layers, make the modifications, and then output it. So this is after we compile what we're doing. If anything, if I remember, there should be a show function. Here it is, right here. So, right here. This is what we want to modify here, the show function. So let's see here. So warp data, yeah, here we go. Here's the warp data. In this case, we're calling warp. I think... Alright, yeah, right here. So warp presets, which is going to be an int. There we go. So if we have our own warp data, we'll run it in and do that. But if we have a preset, then what we will do is we will... Actually, I want this to be an elif. Let's see here. Warp presets. Then output image will equal self dot warp. Our output image, and then lastly, because this is a preset, we can just simply, and it's going to be an ND array preset too. So what we'll do is we'll just simply go to self dot warp presets, and we'll put warp preset. Nice. Okay, there. So with that in mind, now all I have to do is I have to log the different presets. Oh, let's see. What are you complaining about? Missing. Oh yeah, that needs to be a moment. Oh yeah, we need that to the doc string. There we go. We really need to organize this doc string. Oh, we do. Let's see here. This is right here. Formats need to be at the top. Let's see here. Color is at the very end. Right after warp data. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. We'll worry about filling that in later. But yeah, let's see here. So now we have that set up. The next thing to do would be to update the sequencer. So if we go into the sequence builder, I'm going to, yeah, we're going to completely rechange this. I don't want to be zipping up a cycle. Let's see here. Yeah, right here. If you can see, I am cycling the tuple. I don't want to do that. Do not want to do that. So animation parameters. Let's see here, image parameter. Yeah, this needs to be completely rewritten. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this needs to be completely rewritten. So let's do that. So let's see here. We load up the directory. We then grab our stuff. We then get our components, which would be the path name. Here, let's see here. This is the sequence. So this right here, pretty much, it defines our 01012. Because we only have a certain number of images that we're cycling through. I think there's only 3 frames total in the talking animation, but we loop it a couple times to make it look like I'm talking. Make it look like the little avatar is talking. And then image parameters is which is what was going to be the warping data. So this needs to be set instead into a preset. So if we have the image data, oh, we probably should. I forgot that. We should probably set a presets. Let's add that function in real quick into the framer. Here we go, right here. So, Alright, so add presets. And this will be, call this preset. It's an ND array. This is going to do nothing. This isn't going, I should say, this is not going to output anything. What it's going to do is that we're going to append. This is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to append our presets. There we go. And we should probably log that. Because apparently, I'm going to have everything get logged. So we'll say we'll add preset. There we go. Add warp presets. And I don't think we need those. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. Added preset added. There we go. Okay. There, we logged it. Okay. So now that we have that, let's get over to our sequencer. So here's our sequence of images right here. Let's see here. So we have animation parameters. I believe that's going to be, we're going to fill the animation parameters in. Because if you look, animation parameters is going to contain, let's see here, animation parameters is going to contain the animation components and then some kind of iterator, which would be a variety of different things. And then from that, we will then go through and get, actually, I don't actually think that that's going to be an iterator. It looks more like we have a, yeah, it looks more like a dictionary. Let's go ahead and start loading some of these things up, actually. Let's see here. There we go. Alright, so we just added in our emote with a happy path. Let's see here. Actually, I think maybe we want to, I'm going to just go ahead and, we want to look at this, so I'm going to just load this up. Put self is equal to, nope, sequencer. Thank you very much. Oh, needs to be capitalized. Okay. Alright, needs to be capitalized. Oh. Missing one position. And that happens to be the name. Oh, okay. Bob. Alright, Bob. Okay then, so now we have Bob. So let's see here. First things first, DIR path. I think we loaded that up, didn't we? It's over here in the builder. Yeah, DIR path, perfect. Oh. Oh, nice. That means we have everything already loaded for us. We just need to hop on through and look at the data structure. That, components. There we go. So now here we'll be going through the DIR locations, which happens to be these three here. So idle, intro, and talk. All right. We'll go ahead and we'll just go ahead and go into the first one, which happens to be idle. All right. Idle it is. There we go. Our animation component. So here we go. It's created. Nice. Then we're going to go through here. And we're going to proceed to load up our sequence. Like so. Oh. But yeah, there's no animation parameters. So yeah, we don't have to worry about that. No animation parameters at the second. Actually, I wonder, do I have... Do I have it still in memory? No, I don't have it in memory. Nope. Yeah, I don't have it in memory. All right. We'll have to remember that then. So yeah, we don't have the sequence. Actually, yeah, we don't have the sequence. So we'll just go ahead and load this up. Yes, there we go. Voila, we have our sequence now. All 8 frames. Nice. And then last but not least, we're going to turn this into the cycle. So from here, we need to, rather than just passing in the image sequence, which is what we're doing right here, maybe we should, because right now I have it set where I just load in the image sequence. Maybe we should pass in the animation parameters dictionary into here as well. Because then that way we can sort out what we want. Though if you look, the sequence list is really just a list that tells us what our frames are doing where. Maybe I should still keep it a list as well. It'd be a very convoluted list because it's going to be a bunch of ND arrays. But that might... We can set presets. Yeah, I think we might have to do presets all the way. But yeah, what we'll do here is we will also add in warp presets. Oh yeah, we're gonna... And this will be a list of ND arrays. Oh yeah, this is going to be so borked. Oh, it's going to be so borked. I think numpy's already in there. The main thing is this needs to be a none. There we go. Alright. So now we have that. Let's move these out of the... There we go. Okay. So now we have warp presets. What we'll simply do here is when we have it, we'll be cycling through. So here we go. We're enumerating the direction. Here we go. So if sequence equals list, then we'll generate it at the end. So pretty much what that means is that our warp preset will be set right during the sequence list. Yeah, they really should be together, shouldn't they? Alright, yeah. We're changing this. Yeah, this should be together. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This should no longer be a sequence list. This should be parameters. Sequence parameters. This will be a dictionary, which will contain a variety of things. The main thing is it's going to have a string. And then it'll have a list, not a list of ints, but a list of any. Yeah, because there's going to be an integers, there's going to be ND arrays. There's going to be a lot of things. So now we know that we have sequence parameters. The first thing we have to do is, let's see here. The warping, and yeah, so if we have a list of sequence parameters, then we can go through. Man, this is going to be a double. All right. Yeah, this is going to be a nested if statements, which is kind of not good. Let's see here. We'll call this seek. Let's see here. If seek, and this will simply be sequence parameters get, and in this particular case, let's see here. What What did we should give it it's a solid name. So we have the animation iterators, image parameters. Oh, do we set it in the constants? I don't remember. No, we didn't set it in the constants. That means it's just going to be here. All right. So we'll call this warp presets. Oh, come on, get out of there. Warp preset, and then the other one will be we'll call it sequence, because hopefully that won't be too confusing. There we go. Okay, so now we have these. Let's head down. Let's head down. Let's head down. There we go. So if we happen to have sequence, there we go. If we happen to have this, then we will generate this. All right. This is going to be this is going to be super borked. Let's just get it set up, and then we'll start figuring out how things should be organized later. And this will be seek. There we go. There we go. So now we have our image sequence done. Now, if this should be warp. Let's see here. Warp param. We'll call it warp parm. And this will simply be the same thing. Actually, thinking about it, we should restructure this. Because of the fact that... No, this is the right way to do it. Oh boy. If the problem is how we're going... Alright, let me explain where the problem lies. Let me load GIMP back up. Alright. So the problem here... Oh, wrong one. Alright, so the problem here is as follows. I have a sequence. So I have a sequence. So here's my series of frames. This is made up, actually, of just 3 frames. I have 0, 1, and 2. And then to make the actual sequence that we see on, this being animated, I actually extend it out to 0, 1, 0, 1, 2. Like this. Now, because of that, these are actually references right here. So this 0 is pointing back to this memory position in 1. Same for this 0. Same for the 2, and same for the 1. That means if I try to add in a preset here in the sequence, and then add a preset here and then here, then this memory will actually end up having 2 presets. So if anything, what we should do, so if anything, these actually should be separated. Just by the fact that our memory, how we're storing it based in memory. So that means what we should do is, yeah, these should be separated. Alright, we're going to have to go back to what we were originally doing. If I separated these out, then I could have each individual one being its own presets. Which probably would work out pretty well if I wanted to make super crazy animations. And to be fair, one could do that with our current setup. But for me, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, hence why the sharing of the memory. So if anything, what really should be going on, let's go back. Alright, let's go ahead and get rid of all that. Back, 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 back. Come on, we're almost there. There we go. Okay. So yeah, we really should do the warp presets. So warp preset, it actually should be before sequence, like so. And these should be assigned to during this process here. So if anything, let's see here. So if anything, if anything, what I would actually like to do is we'll do itertools dot long. There we go. Zip longest. Enumerate and warp presets. There we go. And then from here, IDX, and then this right here, this is actually going to be a tuple. So let's go ahead and tuple this up. We'll call it warp pre. There we go. And then from here, we add in our animation, we add in our layer. So add layers, and then last but not least, animation frame dot add warp. Oh. Let's see. Oh, did it? There. Let's see here. Add presets. There we go. And then from here, we will add in our warp pre. There we go. Okay, so there we go. All of our presets are then sorted out. So we'll just have to keep in mind that warp preset is in conjunction with the warp path. And in fact, because of that, I'm changing this to be called, because implicitly what that'll do is it will cognitively make us split the difference, make us think, okay, these things that we can input in are the frames. This is all frame focused. Anything else that we have to add in, as in we want to add in a modifier, which would be sequence list, that means it happens after everything else. So this is just kind of going to be a little mental separation of the code. But with that in mind, all right, so with that in mind, there we go. All right. Okay, so with that in mind, now what that means is that if we hop over to Animator, or sorry, not Animator, we're back in the sequencer. We load our images. We have our presets. Is this right here? This is now sequence. So that's now sequence. And as for warp presets, where are you? Image parameters is something different. DIR path is here. Animation parameters, which would be the individual animations, as well as the sequence. I should probably split this up as well. So, yeah, I should probably... Yeah, here it is. The animation iterator and the image parameters. So, yeah, let's split this up. Yeah, I guess it doesn't hurt to have a ton of different inputs, or a bunch of input. This would also help decrease the amount of dictionary usage. Alright, so first things first, let's go up here. We'll call this the animation iterator. Hop back on down. Alright, so animation parameters. We'll do the same thing here as well. We'll do the same thing here as well. We'll put that there. Animation iterator. This is going to simply be a list of integers. There we go. Now we have that. We can change this out to it instead of being here. We can simply just change this back to an if statement. If we have animation, not even if we have animation iterator. We're just passing this in right here. So that's our animation iterator done. There we go. And then as for the other one, animation parameters can be kept the same. Maybe. Maybe. Let's see here. Yeah, we don't need the sequence anymore. Let's see here. Image parameters. We collect it. We then run it. That's down here. All right. Yeah, we probably don't need that because of how that's set up. Yeah, we don't need that. We definitely don't need that. We're just setting the sequence to idle there. Okay. There we go. Okay. And the last but not least is unexpected argument. Oh, sequence list. Got it. There we go. Okay. All right, we're cycling this, but this is a list. You are cyclable. That's what you are. You're a list. Oh, yeah. Okay, why is this complaining? Expected a iterator tuple. Instead, we got a cycle. Oh, I see. I see. Wait. Is this already outputting a cycle? When I run this, I then... Let's see here. Oh yeah, I know why. It's because this, it's right here. Yeah, iterator tuple. This is now just an iterator animation. This is now just an iterator. No longer a tuple. It is now a... I guess you could say it's a list of frames. So, a list of framer. Or actually, well, iterator framer. There we go. That should be it. There we go. Nice. All right. Sorted. Okay. So now we have that. So we have that. Animation parameters we're no longer using. Iterator, which is the... Well, actually, that's kind of what we were doing. We're not doing... We have animation iterator, so we don't need that either. But the presets, that's what we need. So we'll call this warp presets. And this will be a list of ND arrays, like so. This will be none. There we go. And with that being said, let's see here. With that being said, now it's all based off of here. So we do this, we generate our animation. Let's see, animation components, we get the path. Sequence that, So this is load the sequence. We put in the animation iterator. We need to put in our warp, pass in warp preset right here. Warp presets. Actually, it should be warp pre. The reason being is that we're going to be zipping these together. So iter tools dot zip longest. And then we will put in warp presets like so. How much do you bet this is going to crash? We'll have to. We will have to see. Warp pre. There we go. All right, perfect. Nice. And then with warp pre put in here, we simply will then add it in down here. There we go. Down here. And then lastly, what we can do is... What I can do is I can have it default load up the presets.
I think that's what I think that might be the best option for my animator here. So now what we do here is we get the frame. Oh. Actually, this kind of sets the animator to be the one who gets it. Let's head over to the sequencer, get frame now. So animations, emote, components. Yeah, we need to add these in. Ooh, we need to add these in. So we have animations, emote, components. And what we need to do here is we need to do show. Let's see here. It should just be show, if I recall. The best way to find out is to just go to the sequence. Self dot animations dot. Oh, we'll go with animation emotion. I think we should have happy in here. There we go. And then the next one will be animation components dot idle. There we go. And where's my frame? Where did my frame go? Okay, sequence. We have you. We added this in. Oh, I know. Let's check. Let's do a quick check. Self dot animations, and it is empty. Of course it's empty. All right, why? All right, of course it's empty. I think I know why it's empty. Let's go ahead and reload this. There we go, and then self dot load image directory, right? So perfect. Let's see here. There's our dir path right there. This is the parameters that we were setting up. We no longer have parameters. Which is probably oh yeah, this might be a problem because all of the different ones had a sequence. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Oh, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, loading the directory. Actually, to be fair... Oh, actually, I just noticed my YouTube is not loaded. Let me set that up. I just noticed that. People on YouTube can't post messages and have it show up. There we go. All right. Okay, sets. So anyone on YouTube, you can say hi and it'll show up in the chat. Which is fine. YouTube was just complaining. All right. Anyway. Anywho. So let's see here. So we have animation components, get it, preset, and then animation iterator. Yeah, that's we need to reset that. Because animation components was the... Yeah, we kind of needed the animation component. Let's see here. Yeah, because here we had the idle sequence and we had the talking sequence, which are very... So... That's a good thing we committed the get earlier. Otherwise, yeah, we'd have to recreate this. So where are you? Here you are. Okay then. So let's see here. What we were originally doing was, if we have animation parameters, then we would get our sequence right here, and then we would pass it in. All right. Animation parameters, get animation, and then we would simply pull what the animation was. Okay, let's go ahead and copy that and put it back. Let's copy this and put it back. And then last but not least, this right here, sequencer. We will have to copy that over. There we go. Okay. There we go. And then we need to simply add in this back in. But I'm definitely going to make this callable. And that will happen to be our iterator. There we go. Our animation. This one. Okay, there. So now we add it in back in the animation parameters. We're simply going to get it, add in the sequence. We then will pass that in. We'll need to set this to be none. Well, actually, this should be set to... Yeah, we're going to need to set to none. We're going to need to set to none first. This just happens to be a list of integers. There we go. There we go. Okay. And then as for warp pre, that's there. Okay, I think that might be it. That being said, though, I am going to acknowledge that this is still a giant bloody mess, because the warp presets is now going to be this is such a bloody mess. Oh, this is such a horrible mess. Yes, I am using Ubuntu. Hey, Rokun, how's it going? Yes, this is Ubuntu. This is, I think, what are you? What be you, Ubuntu? I think it's not the most recent one. I think it's 12.26, though I could be wrong. Let's see here. About. Yeah, 22.04. There it is. It's 22.04. It's a little mini boxy with a really crappy Intel processor. And also a crappy graphics card. Actually, everything about it is pretty bad. Everything about it's pretty bad. But it run. Ah, I see. Python's quite fun when you're trying to learn it. Yeah, I'm programming in the meantime while I'm waiting for stuff. Good to brush up on skills, and as well as try and remember things that one has forgotten. It depends. What operating system are you using? If you are using, well, that's really the main crust of it. What operating system are you using? If you're using Windows, then if you really, really like Windows, the first thing is don't just switch over to another operating system if you don't really, if you don't want to. Because people are saying it's the better to do it. Don't pick what you like to do. You're using Windows, all right. If you don't like your current operating system, as in there's just too many things you do not like, then it would be good to look into these other operating systems. For instance, I have experience with Ubuntu, Windows, Mac OS. I mean, I used command line for a while because there are certain computers that didn't have anything but command line. I see. If that's the case, then odds are most likely what you should do is stick with Windows for now. You could probably install a image of Ubuntu, or you could install a virtual environment and then play with it. I would probably recommend doing that first, because moving over to Ubuntu, it's a completely different operating system with a lot of different understanding of how it works. And as such, you might I there's a very funny old meme about the different. I think let me see if I can find it. I can probably show you the funny old meme. Because the way to... Well, actually, I'm just going to draw it. I'm just going to draw it. It's easier to draw. Easier to draw than find. Let me load up my... Here we go. So this is pretty much how it is. Alright. So this is pretty much how it is. On... We'll start with Mac. On Mac, it is a very basic... We'll say it's a very basic, kind of like a tricycle. So here we go. We'll make a little trike. So this is a Mac. It's a tricycle. And the reason why it is a tricycle is because it is very safe. They tried their best. Mac tries their best to make sure that nothing bad happens to you when you experience it. No slowdown, no messing with the operator, or no messing with the registries. There's no, everything is self-contained and everything functions. This is fantastic for those who don't care about messing with their operating system. If you don't care about overclocking or care about you don't care about overclocking or messing with the drivers, or you setting up pipelines to connect 2 or 3 different connections, then a Mac is the way to go. In fact, this is why a lot of animators and a lot of musicians, they use Mac, because they want to focus more on developing their content and their media, as opposed to trying to make the system purr like a kitten. For Windows is more like a bicycle. So Windows is more like a bike. There you are. Here's your bike. We'll even put little streamers on it and maybe a flag. So yeah, that's Windows right there. For Windows, you do have to know a little bit more about using it, but if you do know a bit about Windows, you can really do a lot with it. You can customize it the way you want. You can have set it up so you can have different pipelines, different commands. You can do an awful lot with Windows, but you do run the risk of messing up your system. There have been many a times where I was messing with the BIOS, messing with the registry, and I had to do a complete restall of my Windows operating system because I kind of borked it to the point where they were just... It was safer to reinstall than to try and figure out what I messed up. But once you figure out Windows, you can learn a whole lot. Linux, or which it happens to be Ubuntu, KDE, or Kubuntu, or... Actually, I think those are the 2 major ones right now. There's a whole laundry list. I mean, Linux pretty much has many distros. This is... Let's see, can I draw it? If we put that there... This is like a motorcycle. So, this is going to be like a hot rod. There's the... I have no clue what I'm drawing. Yeah, this is a motorcycle. For Linux, you can pretty much do anything you want with it. You can set up your own environments. You can build your own graphical interface. I mean, PewDiePie released a video recently of him actually kind of learning how to build his own graphical interface with Arch Linux. So you can build your own pipelines. You can install your own applications. You can literally go in and modify the internal workings of Linux to be exactly how you want it. However, if you don't know what you're doing, you will crash and you will burn with Linux. I have once installed Linux on a computer, and then I installed it. Now I'm going to now I just want to make it more simple. I'm going to update it so that I can start spoofing location. And then somehow I managed to completely bork it so that the drivers for the Wi-Fi, they were wiped. And I had to reinstall the drivers, and reinstalling the drivers resulted in me having to just reinstall Linux altogether because I had somehow managed to mess up the pointers in which where things were being installed from. So yeah, if you want to learn about programming, learn about operating systems, and really get the most out of your environment, then Linux is the way to go. If you kind of want to just dabble in it a little bit, but you want to kind of have everything preset for you and not too much trouble, then Windows. And if you just want to focus on creating content, Mac. So yeah, that's... I hope it helped. I hope it helps. I know that some people tend to get a bit offended when you do this comparison. I don't know why. Maybe they don't like being compared. Maybe some users don't like being compared to different modes of transportation. Either way. All right, you have a good one. I used all of the 3 operating systems, so I've had to... Yeah, depending on where I worked, they changed dramatically for operating system. For instance, when I was working with this one company, they were it was a data management company. They all used Mac. It was all purely Mac OS. So I had to learn all about how to get Python to work because Mac did not want Python to be running external code. They wanted to keep everything in their nice virtual environments, which was great because of the fact that being working in data management, you could run the risk of memory leaks or other very hazardous things. But then when I was working in research, back when I was doing research in the multiphoton microscope that I used back when I was doing imaging, it used Linux. In fact, the majority of them used Linux because we needed to write our own custom drivers to work with the microscopes. When you're building your own high-throughput microscopic systems, you kind of need to be able to control the operating system, because the last thing you want is for Windows to say, no, you're not allowed to modify this one particular registry when you change the lens out, because otherwise you might bork the system. Like, no, we need to have full access to all resources for our system. So yeah, most of those were Linux based. We ended up using KDE a lot because a lot of the people who wanted to use the microscopes, they were mostly Windows users and they couldn't understand Ubuntu. So we installed KDE to pretend to be Windows, but they were all Linux under the hood. And then, yeah, for the last other few jobs, they were all Windows based because they were more focused on making a product as opposed to making the engine purr, if you wanted to put it that way. So yeah, lots of fun experience. All right, let's see here. So this is going to be a list of... this is going to be a list of dictionaries, isn't it? So let's see here. Yeah, this is going to be a list of... Yep. We're going to just copy this over. This is just going to be... Warp presets is just going to be this again. I hope that this is not going to be a pain in the behind. Since we're warping it now, we're no longer going to do this because this is wrong. You are wrong. There we go. But what we will do is we will now add in another if statement. Another if statement with another... So we'll call this warp pre. Warp pre list. This is going to be a list of ND arrays. And we'll currently set this to just a list. I missed an I spelled that wrong. There we go. So if we happen to have our warp presets, then we're going to get, let's see here. I don't think we need to get, we just need to get the main components, the first part. Since this, let's see here. So yeah, animation components. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we need to get the animation components, which means we'll also be getting the animation component for this one. So that's animation parameters, and this will be warp presets. There we go. Warp pre-list. There we go. And then last but not least, there. All right. And now what are you complaining about? Oh yeah, it's because we set it to none. Actually, we could probably just set it to an empty list. Oh wait, it's because I know why this is a problem. It's because we set it to none here to begin with. If this is an empty list, then yeah, this is because if it's an empty list, it's because our inputs are none. These have to be none. All right, complain all you want. There you go. All right, yeah. Complain all you want, program. You have to be this way because otherwise the code won't work. But with that in mind, now what we can do is we can load our presets, we can load up our sequence. So that means everything should be there. Now when we get to Animator, the idea would be we could simply get the frame. So get frame is being called here while true. Now this is going to be changing here. So what I'm going to do is set this to always get preset 0. So we'll always be getting the first presets. Let's see here. And we'll set preset warp. Like so. There we go. So now that we have that, we simply do this. We'll simply get put here. First things first, we are calling preset warp. All right, so we need to input this into our get frame right here. Nice. This is going to be a none. As well as an integer. There we go. We're expecting an integer. We're getting none. And then last but not least, it's this here. So when I call next, I believe it's here, isn't it? Frame, show. Yeah, here it is. All right, yep, here it is. We don't need to worry about the we don't actually need to send the preset. Yeah, I need to remember where these things are sorted. We haven't done anything yet. Yeah, we haven't done anything yet, so we don't need that. We just need to pull this in. Oh. There we go. Alright then. So yeah, this is going to send out a frame. And then our animator right here. We show frame, and then this right here is our warp preset. And this will be our preset warp. We should probably keep the nomenclature the same. Come on. Keep the same. Keep the same. There we go. Last but not least, what else is this complaining about? Color. We're not inputting in color. All right. We have let's see here. Motion components. Let's see here. It's show. That's what we're looking for. Show. And show has color types. Oh, this should be set to none. We're missing a none. There we go. All right, there we go. Okay, nice. So now what we have here, let's go ahead and import you. There we go. So now we have the animator set. All right. So there's our warp presets. We'll simply input these in. Here is our coefficient. This is the coefficients should be somewhere else. This is to generate the ND array. This is a utility, so we might want to move that somewhere else. Technically, we might want to go into our old code and pull out the animation, those warping animations. That'd actually be great for the sequencer right here, actually. But anyway, I think that might be everything. Besides doing the reset loop. Actually, now that we actually have this set, we should probably get the animator. Let's see here. The animator is currently looking for a keyboard stroke. This is pretty much looking for quitting. So let's update this real quick. We can currently set it to be something simple. So why don't we do that? If we're looking for... So wait 30 milliseconds and FF. And we're looking for, instead of Q, why don't we set it to 1? We'll set it to 1. And if we set this to 1, this is just test code right here. So I'm going to even put that down. Remove test code. There we go. And this is not exit if pressed. This is talk if pressed. There we go. All right then. So what we're going to do here now is this. So this is the... Okay then. Yeah, so now this is the part where we come into the animation components. So if we remember with our animator, the original plan. So the original plan. Oh yeah, blinding me. Okay. Oh, blinding. So the original plan is as follows. The idea is that we will have a for loop, or this is a while loop. So while true, we will go through and we will continue looping forever until some kind of something comes in. And while we're doing that, we will be set to default. So that's what our setting is. Now, if we look at our code, you'll find that I'm calling the next function. What next does in Python is it will go to an iterator. So if we have an iterator, which will have 1, 2, so here's an iterator right here. I missed a 3. Okay, so here's an iterator. What next does is you call in a loop, the first one. It'll pull out this one. Then next will hop over and then pull the next one. And then so on and so forth. So every time I call next, it will move along to the end. And in normal loops, once you reach the end, then usually it will either exit out of the loop if you had tied the next to said loop, or it will just start pulling the very last one over and over and over again because it's finished. But what I did was I used something called cycles. And what cycles does is once we get to 4, it will then go all the way back and start over to 0. So then it'll go 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it will keep doing that infinitely as I call next, which is quite nice. Quite nice indeed. Now the problem is our different animations, for instance, idle is 10 frames long. Now we want to be able to interrupt this as much as possible. So I only want to interrupt this all the time. Talking is 5 frames, and this is not.